I would like to call the March 6, 2023 City Council meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please rise. Pledge of Allegiance.
Public for which it stands, a nation, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Okay, Councilor Holmes and Councilor Santiago are online today. Everyone else is in person. Approval of the agenda, so I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I move to approve the agenda with the amendment of continuing the stormwater presentation after public comment.
I have a motion to approve the agenda with the continuation of the stormwater discussion right after public comment. Any seconds?
Second.
Andrew seconds that. Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we have a session here for public comment for items that are not on the agenda. If anybody would like to speak, did we have anybody turn anything in, Susan, besides Jeff Winker? Winker? No.
This is Jeff Winker. I'm here.
One moment, Jeff. One moment, Mr. Winker. Let me just, he was going to speak during the work session, so is it okay if he speaks now regarding the stormwater issue? Okay, Mr. Winker, go ahead. And just your name and city of residence, please.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Winker. I don't live in the city limits, but I live on 50 acres at the east end of Columbia Avenue, right next to the levee. My kids went to school there, and it's our town. I'm retired, 40 years in commercial construction, management, and real estate. So every project has stormwater management, and the basic tenet is to manage the stormwater so you don't cause the water to go faster or increase or worse quality to your neighbors. The Dike District, I was on the board of directors from 2002 till August of 2021, so 19 years, and president for most of that. I personally made about 6 presentations to the city council, city managers, and staff about what we do. We would do that every few years, and maybe it's time to do that again because I see we have a new mayor and city manager and staff, council members. So we were responsible of the Dike District, and I'm not currently on the board, so I'm not speaking for the Dike District directly, but I know all about it, and I'm a landowner and concerned. The city relies on the Dike District to attain certification from the Corps of Engineers and accreditation from FEMA. Now that part is a joint process between SDIC, the county, and the city. That started in 2007, has been ongoing, and the members of the drainage district have spent upwards of $500,000 over a 16-year period from 2007 to 2023 to date. So for the new people, the Dike District includes 5,700 acres, including 920 different property owners, of which 625 are homes inside the city limits and urban growth boundary. Since 2019, I personally gave the city and county staff the certification documents from the Corps of Engineers, which is what we achieved. The next step is to work jointly with the city and the Columbia County, who is the official map holder, to get the flood maps updated. And the city has been doing due diligence to improve the process and make the maps more accurate, which is, we totally support that. But there'll be a letter of map revision, and that process is underway. So SDIC has an annual assessment of $350,000, and it's held steady at that for the last 5 years. The members pay a fixed fee and a fee based on the acreage and elevation of the land. since it costs more to pump water from the lowest land than it does from the highest land. And our district boundary extends to elevation 32, which a good benchmark is, where the soccer field is, on 6th Street, right there is about where the line is. Everything east of there is the drainage district, below 32 feet and above is out. So the east half of Scappoose is in the district. Everything across the highway drains to Scappoose Creek. So, but our concern is the part that comes to us. We are your neighbor. We are the downhill recipient of stormwater from the city. And I'm shocked that this Brown and Caldwell, Scappoose Drainage District is not mentioned in there once. The boundary of the district is the Santosh River. I mean, not the boundary, but the main drainage ditch, 7 miles long, which pretty much follows the eastern city limits. And it's the main ditch that picks up water that overflows from the city system. And wherever these things are, they all have a maximum that when you're engineered for the 25-year flood, we have to pay attention to the 100-year flood because that's what certification and flood maps are built around. And it's also the standard to keep the levee sound and maintained so that it doesn't break and flood all 5,700 acres and turn it into a great big bathtub.
Mr. Winker, may I interrupt one moment? I'm sorry, I did not discuss at the beginning that we typically do limit these to 5 minutes. So I wanted to just kind of give you a heads up. You still got a minute. I'll let you finish.
I only have 2 basic questions.
Okay.
The part about assessment is great, but the members that are in the district and the city limits, aren't they paying double taxation for stormwater? And because you're getting 2 fees, one from us and one from the city. Just a question. Then the other question has been a long-standing question, is concern about development over time, because you have to think in terms of decades and generations for development as it occurs. There's more and more impervious surface, so there's more and more water coming to the district at a faster volume and possibly a poorer quality. And we were really hoping that the hydraulic analysis done for this will include some quantification of that so that everyone's concerns about that issue can be alleviated. And that's pretty much all I had. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Winker. And I will discuss with you at a later time and we'll continue with this meeting now. So maybe some of your questions or concerns will be addressed as we continue to speak. Thank you. Thank you. Were there any other public comments before I go back into? Yeah, if you have a public comment right now, we're doing public comments for items not on our agenda. Yeah, please step up and just name and city, and we just need you to speak into that so it can they can hear you online.
Well, yeah, my name's Chase Christensen. I'm the general manager for the Scappoose Drainage District. Jeff gave a very good kind of recap of what our concerns are, and not even seeing our infrastructure included in all of this. It's kind of like water comes to us, and then that's kind of the end of your system, but we have to pick it up. Most of the year, we have to pump it. And that's where the assessment comes from.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any comments? Yeah, Mr. Councilor McHugh.
Just a quick comment. I think Jeff touched on it a little bit maybe, but our stormwater is not treated. Are there other communities where the stormwater is treated? And why isn't ours treated? It's not, has it been tested and it's really good, or what?
You want to take that one, or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. Our stormwater is treated. We've always required a fairly high level of treatment standard in the city of Scappoose, even though we do not have a permit follow. Prior to my being with the city, it was Clean Water Services or City of Portland standard was what was usually required on development. And I've continued that.
So it is being treated now.
It
it's a little misleading at the start of the presentation when we were talking about that. It doesn't go through a treatment plant. It's treated at the site it's collected, discharged. So it's just, it is
site-
treated.
Each site is managed based on where it can discharge to the receiving body. Some go to UICs, some are piped to city systems. Some go direct discharge into the creek. Those systems are all different, depending on where, and the constraints of the project as well. You'll see some projects have a pond, some have filter units.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yeah, did you have?
Can you,
I guess for my knowledge, just, I mean, for my understanding, like a Dutch Canyon Estate stormwater catch, is that managed by the city or the HOA? Do HOA's fees cover, work on the stormwater drainage system? Can you answer anything on that?
Sure, that's a retention basin. It was developed for 3 phases of Dutch Canyon. All 3 phases were considered when that was designed and built. And the thought was always that the HOAs would collect money through their reserve fund, study maintenance of those facilities, and all 3 phases are supposed to meet those costs.
So if there's construction or stuff needed, they're supposed to fix it versus the city?
Correct. It's a system for, yes, under the way that we're set up currently, those are maintained by those HOAs.
And then once they get into the pipes, they get into city pipes and go to wherever.
Correct. That facility doesn't have an outfall, so it's all managed in that.
Is that similar to others throughout the city? Or are they all different?
Well, they're all very different.
All very
A lot of them, what we try to do is have an emergency overflow into a public system or into a receiving water body. That in that case of that one, there's no flow. So,
hello?
Yes, President Councilor Grayson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm getting the sense that you're looking for some sort of feedback from us on our overall thoughts on this, and that's going to maybe help continue this plan development. Kind of seemed like that was part of the presentation, that, you were seeking some sort of input. Do you have any capacity to address some of those public comments that were made today, in terms of the process, or where you are with that, or what it looks like in terms of how you've determined and how that affects the drainage district?
We have, through the course of the project, met with SDAC a couple times to talk about the guidelines of our project, and that's obviously with city staff support and participation. The drainage district infrastructure is fairly far downstream, and so this being a city stormwater master plan, we're looking at city infrastructure and city condition and deficiencies. That was primarily the focus of our plan. The hydrologic and hydraulic analysis that we go through is in conjunction with the design standards that the city has written. We evaluate and assess city infrastructure in accordance with that. Whereas the FEMA process, the LOMAR development that SDAC was mentioning, it's an entirely different hydrologic methodology. And as mentioned, the SDIC system is a pumped system. So it isn't one that is gravity fed. We would be able to readily assess. And I think the last thing I want to mention, and we can help address and respond to some of the provided by SDIC, that conjunction with the pumping is an operational activity. Stormwater runoff generated within the city, and the city area within the SDIC boundary is, they mentioned property owners, but it's about 10 to 15% of the total SDIC boundary. So when we look at stormwater runoff generated, we're obviously looking at what that water runoff is. But Chris mentioned that the entire city, including that portion, is subject to the stormwater development standards that you have drafted and are implementing. That does require treatment and attention from water runoff. So that's a long-winded answer, but yes, we can help support and provide some.
The plan was is that the next time you see this, it's the draft coming before you. And what we wanted to do by utilizing tonight was get you warmed up to what's coming so that it wasn't something you really weren't prepared for this massive document to be dumped in your lap and say, here, adopt this. We wanted to get you thinking. We wanted to give you some of the high level information tonight. Start talking about the rates, get a sense of where you're comfortable. Hear some clear direction. Have no problem that maybe when that's presented to you, that we also have a presentation to talk about those other rates and kind of what that looks like collectively. That is not an issue to do. It's finding the time to get it into a schedule. That's kind of where we're at. Tonight wasn't to touch on everything. When the master plan comes forward, I think a lot of tonight's questions regarding SDIC will be answered because a lot of that information is in that document. Just wasn't touched on tonight. Like I said, this was a very high level to get you guys thinking about what we've been working on. So it's not a surprise when it is.
So any other questions or comments or concerns, we can email you at a later time, kind of our thoughts. And then, okay, I've got two more. Mr. Wagner, did you want to speak? And then Mrs. Santiago, Councilor Santiago next. Did you want to say something, Leonard?
Okay. A little explanation of the stormwater. I did the Fred Meyer mill, and basically we had large stormwater payments, then pump water down, ODOT.
Mr. Wagner, you're breaking up about every other word we're missing.
Okay.
You show mute on one of your systems.
I don't know how to get it.
We're looking on our end, but it looks, maybe you have two things logged in and one, you're losing us. Every other word is being cut out. Did you just see Councilor Holmes' comment? He just commented about a. Now he's completely muted. Yeah. Maybe go off speakerphone.
Can we try this? Nope. Is that better?
Not much.
Okay.
All right. Well, let me, if you can try off speakerphone, maybe, is it on a phone or are you talking through a computer?
I'm talking to the computer.
Still breaking up. Let me try Santiago. Maybe you can call in.
Well, or I'll do a memo. I'll do a memo.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Santiago.
Thank you. I just, I know that we were asked if Brown and Caldwell can answer the questions that were on comment, that were the public comment, and there was some verbiage said, some words, but I don't feel like it was actually answered. So one would be, I forgot the gentleman's name, Mr. Wagner. He said, our question is, and I just, yes or no answer. Are we residents being double taxed? And the other question I think that resonated was the, as far as I think there was a map issue, and I did have a question. The graphic that I had only had a map of a section of north of Scappoose for problematic areas and the ones that are being addressed. I'm not sure if there's an updated map but that's the one I have with me. So I'm wondering why the rest of Scappoose wasn't showed on that problematic map. And I guess why wasn't, I know that they mentioned, oh, they're really focusing on city limits, but I think if we're doing a full assessment, everything should be taken into consideration when making recommendations. So will the other organization be also involved in their stats in order to come out with a final recommendation?
The question is, will they confer with the drainage district when doing their analysis as well?
Correct.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just for the record, the people that have presented today have already mentioned that they have had meetings. It's not like they weren't involved in a discussion, that they've met with them on a couple different occasions. Just for the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
As
And
I
also
said,
for
the document will touch on all of that. There's
Yeah.
description in there on it.
So that
I
would be.
think it's just a
future
little
report.
early.
Those are questions on the double taxation. I mean, we can look into that.
Okay.
Peter?
This isn't related to that issue, but after our last presentation from the district, I was contacted by an attorney with a legal nonprofit called the Western Resources Law Center. It's a clinic out of Lewis and Clark Law School. And I had told them that if we were going to meet with the SDIC again, that I would alert the executive director of that organization, Caroline Lobdell. And so when I reviewed the packet, I saw that we were just discussing Scappoose water. They had some very specific concerns relating to the maps that the district was proposing. And I had provided Caroline with assurances that prior to us bringing back, and we're as part of those conversations, we're paying for some additional engineering so that we can get a better idea of the mapping. But I had told her that I would alert her so she could attend any meetings where the SDIC was, or the special district was, drainage district was presenting. So to the extent that that conversation is going to occur, I just want to let you guys know that I need to know in advance, because there are people that are very interested in this process outside of the city and the special district.
Thank you.
I can respond to question related to the mapping. So this is just the PowerPoint presentation. So we had just clipped portions of existing mapping for purposes of discussion today, but in the master plan, there are comprehensive maps.
Thank you. Was there a memo by Mr. Wagner? Okay. Thank you, Angela and Thomas, and thank you, Amanda and John online. Appreciate it. We'll hear from you again shortly, I would think. Well, how many months are we talking before this plan will be presented again?
4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks tops.
Okay. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get back to, so we were done with public comment. We're done with that. Looking for the consent agenda, which is February 15th, 2023 special city council meeting minutes, and February 21, 2023 council work session minutes, and February 21, 2023 city council minutes. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
Moved by Councilor McHugh. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Councilor Miller. Any discussion, question? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, old business. Ordinance 911, a ban on the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits in the stores in Scappoose. We are on the second reading, I believe. We did first reading last meeting. Assistant City Manager Isaac Buttman, any more information?
No, just line the language as requested between rabbits and bunnies, kind of made things a little more clear there. That's all I changed for requests. Answer any further questions.
Any more questions? We had a motion to approve and a second. And so now we are at any discussion or additional information. So now to take a vote to pass, is that where we are, Peter, in the situation? Okay, so we had a first and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Are those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Right, moving on.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just for some context, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Chief, but you have some background in this area and just, we've had some people mention, you know, there's not really an issue about selling puppies and kitties and bunnies. Why would we need something like this? Just do you mind just real briefly why something ordinance like this is so important to put into effect now in Scappoose?
Well, it prevents the lousy breeders.
Mhm.
You're getting dogs from legitimate breeders. A lot of what I've seen is that a lot of animals such as bunnies, puppies, they're like Easter's coming up. So what does everybody get? They get a bunny. They find out a couple months later they can't handle it, and what happens? They have unwanted bunnies. Same with cats. Dogs are usually pretty big around the Christmas time. And when I was running the shelter back east, we would probably get 700-800 cats and dogs returned to us, yearly. So having such a, ordinance kind of prevents that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I
Yes.
add to that really quick? And just for the record too, we actually have had an issue with this, not within the city of Scappoose, but we had one up Scappoose-Huronia Highway where there was a kennel that got fined multiple times. And that issue ended up taking an immense amount of county resources and ended up in several lawsuits. Also, of course, a lot of resources too. So I do think that this is really important just on the basis, if nothing else, is being preventative. But to say that that isn't a problem in this area isn't correct because we have had this issue happen very, very close to within the city of Scappoose. Thank you.
I think what I would add too is we wouldn't have rescue groups if we didn't have a need.
Okay, thank you. So we've had first reading, last meeting, second reading now with approval. So ordinance 911, an ordinance relating to a ban on sale of dogs and cats in stores in Scappoose is passed. New business, South Columbia County Chamber of Commerce update, member relation manager, Jack Massey. Here. Yes.
New to this process, at least with Scappoose, I've reporting to the St. Helens Council.
One is, pull this up close because that way they can hear online.
Is that better? Yes.
I think so. Yes.
Oh. Okay, so how's that?
Perfect.
All right. I have been giving 6-month review updates with the city of St. Helens, and I just figured that it made sense that I would be doing the same thing for the Scappoose City Council. So I hope that's all right that we can continue scheduling these every 6 months and just give you an update as to what the chamber is up to. So I did put a presentation to you guys. I don't know if it comes up on the screen or not, but hopefully it's in front of you. Just a quick update is what I want to do is provide to you what's kind of what's been happening over the last year as far as our memberships. I did start in this position in October of 21. So I've been here a little year and a half or so. So my membership status report is going back to February of 2022 and just reporting that we went from 105 members at that time to 127 members currently and growing. So I'm just really excited about that. Some of the changes that we're making is our Coffee and Commerce, if you guys have been to any of those events, which would be awesome to see you, they're doing really well. They're booked months out. That's one event every month at 8 a.m. and it travels around the South Columbia County area to whatever business is hosting. The happy hour, we did make a change to our entire concept back in September, where we opened it up to any business can host happy hour. In the past, it was just food and beverage locations, and we were somewhat limited to that. We figured if everyone could have a Coffee and Commerce, why couldn't they do the same with for the happy hour? So we've been able to do that. We do all the permits and applications and what have you through the OLCC if the business is not already a food and beverage establishment. And I'm actually encouraging that our members partner up, and maybe one member who's not in the food and beverage business partners up with someone who is, and that they get sort of a by hosting benefit from all that. We also have a +1 promotion with both of these programs, which is if someone is not a member, but they're on the cusp, interested, or maybe considering being a member, but they want to see what it's about, that they can be a guest of one of our members, and that member who is bringing them as a guest gets a little bit more of a promotional benefit, extra time to talk, or what have you. So it's called our +1 promotion. We're just trying to get more people involved and get our members involved in marketing as well. Talking about marketing, just a few of these things. I'm not going to touch on everyone specifically. I did bring a brochure for the City Council this evening. This is a brochure that I created. It's not just for promotion for new members, but it's also a good review for existing members to see what your benefits are. I feel like a lot of our members maybe aren't familiar with what they could take advantage of as being a member of the chamber. And this is a good way to just do a review of that, make sure that you are getting your money's worth. That's really what my main goal is, to make sure that all of my chamber members are getting their value back, investment that you've made in the chamber, and I want to make sure that that's coming back to you. So with that, we are looking forward to doing the upcoming Earth Day event. We have a booth that we're going to be presenting. We'll be doing face painting. But I figure if I have the attention of the parents while they're waiting for their children to have their faces decorated, that's a good time for me to explain what the chamber does and maybe some promotional things for our members as well. So if there's anything that the city wants to have at our booth, hand out, let me know. Also, if you guys are doing the Scappoose Adventure Fest this year, I'd like to be more involved in that, specifically in the planning process and more of what the, during the planning part of that. I did intend to have a booth there last year, but unfortunately I got COVID and that didn't play out very well. So I'm gonna catch you guys this year. So just appreciate you guys letting us know what events are coming up, and if we can be a part of it, we want to do that. Of course, there's the Kiwanis Parade in St. Helens. We're doing some spotlight ads with the local Lee County Spotlight. Trying to keep just the advertisements up at the chamber itself. We've got the kiosk outside, and I've been putting some things up in the windows. I do notice that people come by underneath the patio and they'll look at what's on the windows. So just kind of using that space as some marketing as well. We had a pretty successful Black Friday sale that was the last week of November, and it is that week every year. Within that 7 days, we had 24 renewing members and 10 new members that come through. So we felt pretty good about those results. We're using the community room more this year, which I'm really excited about. I wanted to have more classes and presentations available to anyone, not just the members. They are typically free to anyone who wants to attend. So it's like new home buyers. We have one coming up this month. It's going to be every month. It's concealed weapons, class about concealed weapons and proper use and permitting, taught by a professional who knows what they're doing. All types of different marketing concepts, Facebook, how to use Facebook, all those things that people across the board would be interested in learning something. So those are open to everyone. My personal goals this year would be to create a chamber jingle, like on the radio, for example. We recently had a Coffee and Commerce at the Makerspace in St. Helens, and they have a station there where you can create sort of a jingle or what have you. And so that's something that I really would like to do and get us back on the local radio. So I have yet to make a party to see what we can do about this on the radio. I think that would be a good marketing tool. Supporting our members and just doing ribbon cuttings. We do once a month, just like we do a networking happy hour and Coffee and Commerce. Those are the three things we have for a standard every month. I do invite the city in which ribbon cut is taking place, and I would love to see the city council be at those, or one or a couple of you would be fabulous. So that the members would be pleased to see city council members there or commissioners. So just throwing that out there as well. I've started doing welcome kits for new members as they come in. We do a new welcome kit. So I throw some information in there from the local cities. In fact, I was just telling Isaac I need some more guys over there. And appreciated him giving me some things this last summer to promote the city as well. I do look at your newsletters and I pull whatever I can out of them and put them in our newsletters to share that. Just encouraging, like I said, our members to join forces as much as possible. Start up our ambassador program again this last summer. And with that, we added 10 new ambassadors, and 4 of them were continuing to serve. And we created one less committee because essentially I am the membership committee, all in my own. But we do have the 4 committees up and running now, each comprised of a chair or a co-chair from our board, and then up to 5 additional ambassadors that are members of the chamber serving in that capacity. Other community involvement that we're doing is, just like I said, sharing any announcements or job postings, looking through your newsletters and making sure that I'm representing each of my cities appropriately. And we did have a candidate forum. I don't know if anyone was able to attend that this last September. I felt like we had a pretty good turnout. We had most of the candidates there with the exception of 1 House and 1 Senate member, but we did have 2 sheriffs running for the position, 2 commissioners, and then 1 House, 1 Senate. It wasn't necessarily for any kind of debate. It was just more for informational purposes for the community to ask questions and have an opportunity to meet and greet afterwards as well. So it was really very beneficial. I felt like it was very valuable for everybody to hear what they had to say. So I'm going to back up a little bit on my list because I said saving the best for last. Back to that. Probably the last thing is the visitor center status. Don't know if all of you are aware, but we are no longer a visitor center. We've taken that sign off our building. There was some issues with, I'm trying to keep up with everything I'm doing with the chamber and the membership's growing. It's difficult for me to continue to be like a visitor center coordinator and answering questions for people coming in. That does not mean I'm still not turning on my open sign. And if someone comes in, I am all about helping them learn more about our area and promoting my members and giving them whatever information they're asking for to the best of my ability. Of course, that's definitely number 1 coming in there to help. But we're just not open all the time as a visitor center. If I'm doing my job right, then I wouldn't be in the office all the time either. So with that, we've got some Capitol building expenses that we recently did, got some quotes for, and we're trying to keep the building up and keep it maintained. Landscaping is something that has been brought up by the city of St. Helens as well, and it's something that I personally feel like we could do better as well. Just aesthetics, it's curb appeal. We do have a local church, the Thomas Church, if anyone has heard of them. They do church at our building every Sunday. They have the front lobby that is their congregation where they meet, and then our back community room is where they have like the children's church. They have stepped up and said that they would be interested in doing some landscaping for us, and I was happy to hear that. And I told them I would be out there with my gloves on and getting dirty right with them. So hopefully we can do some curb appeal. Saving the best for last. Yes, this is what I'm super excited about. We are on the cusp of having our annual banquet. We haven't had an annual awards banquet since 2019. I believe some of you may have been around when Simon Date was in my position. So we're excited to be doing this again. We just finished our nominations. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to nominate. If you did, great. If you didn't, I'm so sorry. We tried to get the word out. The next week, we will be doing our voting. So right now we're reviewing all of the nominations that came through. There are 10 awards that are being given out at our banquet. The banquet is going to be held on May 5th. That's a Friday at Buscemi Hall, St. Helens. There will be the 10 awards that will be given out, plus 1 additional award that's the People's Choice, which is whichever name of business or person kept coming up again and again, they would be receiving the People's Choice Award. Along with that, we have a whiskey and wine wall. Anyone familiar with what a whiskey or wine wall is? I asked this because I didn't know. Head shaking yes, no, okay, no, we have a no. Basically, it would be members or community members could donate a bottle of whiskey or wine, put it in a bag, so you don't see exactly what is inside. You know it would be whiskey or wine. For $20, anyone who's a guest at our awards banquet will make a $20 donation, get to choose the bag of their choice and take that home with them. So it's a good deal for anyone, you know, for $20 or choosing some sort of a beverage of their choice. It's still a little bit of a surprise as to what's inside. So that is a whiskey and wine wall. We'll be doing a live auction as well. And some of the items that I'm trying to get donated would be that focus on what Oregon has to offer. Say, for example, a overnight stay in a beach house, or maybe reach out to Mark Haveman, see if he would offer up the lake house as an evening event for a small group of people. We've got a wine tasting for 10 that's been donated by Big River Tap Room. Perhaps maybe Tillamook be willing to donate some sort of items from their factory. Steel, hopefully, or even I'm hearing gravel. Well, people like gravel. So some landscaping things, biking, hiking, hunting,
River.
fishing, those types of things. So I'm hoping that some of that I've said sounds of interest to the city council, and that I would love to have you guys reach out to me and get your table reserved. Table of 8, all of those sponsorships that are listed there in those levels that I also provided. I only had 4 copies, but they all include a table of 8 and then different levels of promotion along with that, depending on which price you chose. I'm trying to be
Go ahead.
quick.
Yeah, no, Counselor LaFrenz.
I have a quick question. How often were visitors coming into that chamber?
I would say, I couldn't really say it was like an average. There would be some days that I have 2 or 3 people come in, then maybe, no one for a while, and then some days maybe one every, I would say on an average, I probably had at least 2 to 3 people on a weekly basis. And that's just visitors coming in. There were also people calling on the phone and asking questions that may or may not pertain to something that I could answer. A lot of times I was having to refer them to their agency or cities or what have you. But
Okay, that's helpful, and I totally understand the bandwidth, the limited bandwidth. So
and that's not to say we wouldn't be open to the idea again. We were actually trying to get funds to assist, have a second person there. This other person, this other center coordinator who might even have more history with the area. I live in Rainier, so I don't have all the history, but that we could staff each other's hours, so to speak. We could be open more of the time. They would be there when I'm not. I would be there when they're not. That was the concept. So we're not opposed to revisiting that at some point. But that's just where I'm at right now. I'm still not full time, and we're just, making things work the best I can.
Thank you. Are you able to, to get the chamber newsletter, do you have to go onto the website, or do you have a mailing list? If given you an email, you will email it to us automatically?
Yes and yes. There's 2 ways. You can just tell me that you want to be getting the newsletter, and I can add you. I can do that for you. Or the other way is to just simply go onto our website. At the bottom of the directory page, there's a big button. Can't miss it, that says sign up now. But I'm more than happy, Mr. Mayor, to sign you up, or anyone else on the city council or very easy.
Just do that. Appreciate it.
Any questions that I can answer? We'll see you at the awards banquet. I'll be hearing from someone soon.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're doing a good job.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
Trying to. I came from 27 years of being a business owner and leading a business in Longview, Washington. In HR, 2020 killed me. I was done. So I wanted something different. I loved networking and marketing and going to conferences. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So are you getting a good response from City of Scappoose businesses? The
Yeah.
ones you're adding, or most of them St. Helens, and you're getting some from Scappoose as well?
I would say we have a few more St. Helens businesses, but I honestly try to really promote all my cities as best I can. In fact, this last month, all 3 of our events, the Coffee and Commerce, the Happy Hour, and the Ribbon Cutting, were all in your location. T-Mobile, Cano's Pizza, and Eric Ganton being True Financial. And right, this next Happy Hour coming up, although it is the Scappoose Grocery Outlet, they're having it at the Chamber. Wine tasting, by the way. I come over.
So in your newsletter, you'll post where those are on the times and dates.
It's in the newsletter, and then so I do one big long newsletter at the beginning of the month, and I realize it's kind of long because I have a lot of people that I'm representing. Then each week send out what's called an SEC bulletin, which is just what's happening right now this week. So if you missed it and you didn't have time to look at the full newsletter, which I get, everyone's busy, at least catch my bulletins when you see them. Once you're on my list of subscribers, you're getting those. You're also getting like special announcements when we start up the voting and when the voting's going to get ready to close. Those types of things will also come through to that same list. Yes, hope to see you there.
Appreciate it. And here, if you want to.
Is there anyone else who wanted to, if you have a card, I'm happy to add you to the list if you want to, or
to get it.
my contact information is on those brochures as well. All you have to do is just email me and say, add me to the subscriber list, okay?
I think some of us are already linked on it. I get it. I don't know if past counselors, our emails have already been on it or not, but
And
Yeah.
Kidding.
just
I'm
offering
not,
that-
not giving you my information to be rude or something. I do get it.
I get it. I'm just saying, I'm just offering that up. If
Thank
anyone
you so
wants to
much.
get it, I'm happy to add you to the list.
Thank you.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
See you back here in 6 months, I suppose.
I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay, new business number 4, 2023-2024 council goals. The manager Alex Rains is staff.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So in your packets this evening, you'll see a summary of your council retreat and the goal list that you all put together. So we're just looking for review and approval this evening from you. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Grayson.
Under, I guess it would be page 11 at the top, goal number 2, enhance community livability. It was pitched kind of at the last minute during our retreat, 2.3. I'd like to have it removed. I don't feel like that's something that we're prepared to take on at this time or have a lot of knowledge about as a council. And I don't think it's pertinent at this time. So if we move to approve, I'd like that with the removal of 2.3.
You, any other comments, questions? Councilor Holmes?
Yeah, hi. So kind of in that same time period of the what did we miss? I had raised the shared use land agreement or the shared use agreement with the school board. And didn't know if that should be officially added as a goal or if that's just something that will be taken on separately. It does seem to be something that's been identified by council in discussions, the committees and discussions, and other, citizens in their public comment. So I'm just not sure where that falls in our list of formal priorities and goals.
I do believe that was included in the Parks Committee's goals, if I'm remembering correctly. Okay, Isaac's nodding at me. Yes, so that was in the Parks Committee goals. Also, I would still say that while maybe it's not called out separately under goal 4, that it is something also that was still discussed under the Parks and Recreation Master Plan process. So again, I do think it's covered. I know we've had recent discussions about actually scheduling something with the school district about it. So it's in process.
Okay. Thanks. And I guess I have one more question
Yes,
if
go ahead.
nobody else does. So I think, when we began to whittle down this list, and I think we did a really good job and the facilitator did a good job of helping us look at what is measurable in terms of goals. And I guess in my mind, the next step is how do we then begin to measure and show the progress? So are there kind of high level milestones that we can identify for each of these goals? And we begin to start showing where we are in terms of, moving through each of those goals. And so would that be like a Gantt chart or a workflow, and maybe have that updated on a quarterly basis so we see where we're at, particularly with some of these goals that are multi-year goals?
So generally speaking, when it comes to implementation, that does fall within the realm of staff. Whenever we have presentations to council that specifically pertain to a goal, we always make sure to include that in our staff reports. But with respect to action plans and things like that, generally speaking, those are really taken care of at a staff level. Again, it's not to say that we don't update council as we move through those projects, but I guess in the past, we haven't generally come forward with really detailed action plans on every single goal for council, because once they're assigned to staff, they do become, you're in the implementation phase of the process.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not suggesting that we, try to provide the structure for how you implement it, but just understanding what your process will be for implementing, and having some visibility into where we stand in those project timelines.
So just like we did for you all in January at the first meeting, we gave you an annual update. So we give you an annual update on every single one of the goals, and then each goal, like I said, when a staff report or item on an agenda pertains to a specific goal, we do make sure to outline that in the staff report so you see that this is progress on your goals. So we do provide frequent updates as things are moving along. Sometimes things are going to move faster than others, depending. And we will try to give you updates on cost and timelines as we move along. And I said there's always those annual check-ins as well. So there are several touch points through the year where we are providing progress updates to council on these items.
And I appreciate that. Sorry to keep pushing on it, but just understanding, you know, I coming from, you know, the kind of the corporate business world, it is helpful for everyone involved in the project, whether you're an outside observer or an inside observer, to understand what the direction of the project is, what the aims are for achievement, and like when those are planned to be met. And I guess I can appreciate that, you know, that is entirely under your direction, but I just don't understand why maybe we can't get some insight into how that will all unfold for each of these goals.
Thank you, Councilor Holmes. I kind of had similar question, just as new is how do we track these throughout the year, you know? And so we're going to get them in a department report when they address something specifically in our goals. And then in another 11 months, we'll see an overall, we'll go over them all individually like we did about a month ago. But as we hit some of these, I mean, you will let us know when we are addressing our goals throughout the year. I take it.
Just to let you know, internally, we redo those goal documents with the new goals before we start work. So we do create some of that again internally for our work plans, and some of that data is reflected in the budget in the department work plans as well.
Okay, I mean, there's some that, yeah, they're continuing. We'll see them like promoting the community events such as Adventure Fest. Will we get updates monthly on how that is going, or every other month, kind of talking about sponsorships and to increase attendance? Are we going to get some updates as we go to kind of see that we're working towards that, or are we waiting till the festival and see the results?
So Adventure Fest, given that we've only done it for 1 year, is still kind of, I would say, evolving in terms of how we deal with that. Last I checked, we had a small group that was helping with sponsorships, correct? And also, I think the Economic Development Committee had also had a hand in that as well.
Yeah, economic development opted to be involved in the sponsorship for that. So we just got the materials proofed with Treadway. So they should be getting that this week for the package to go out and kind of start for that data. And then people who participated last year from the community and the sponsorships are interested in doing it again. Again, that group was pretty small. And I think that for Jeff Weiss, it's a little bit complicated because he does run, you know, the library, and they do a lot of their own fundraising. So it's a little complicated for him. So I'm not sure what his level of involvement with fundraising is going to be again this year. But he was lukewarm on it.
Thank you. Councilor Santiago.
Yes, so I guess just to clarify also, these are very overview goals, and we're looking to approve these overview goals, but within this goals, for example, continue to develop the 50-year plan. In that process, there's so many other activity that falls under that specific goal, because I also am interested in knowing about ordinances and how there's certain ordinances that need to be changed and resolutions, but that's just part of the process of the 50-year plan. We don't have to necessarily call it out, but it just falls under, say, the 50-year plan. Is that what my understanding?
Yes, so these are going to be incredibly detailed projects that take years and years of work. So you're not going to be able to capture in the single, you know, title or name everything that's going to go into it. Of course, if you're approving an ordinance or something like that, that's coming before council for approval. That can't just be passed without you all. So there's no point at which anything like that would happen without your knowledge. But yes, I mean, as with anything, these are going to have, you know, a lot of involvement. They're complex projects. So yes, it would be very difficult to capture in the title everything that would go into it.
Okay, and This is just, we're just talking about goals right now. We're not necessarily talking or covering team agreement yet. Or is that a separate vote?
Yes, correct. So, so this is just the goals.
Okay.
Or, excuse me, I'm sorry. The team agreement is in the back that we discussed during the meeting. So, sorry, I apologize. I misspoke. So that is in here. It's reflected in here because you all worked on it that same day. So you'd be looking at both.
At both. So I do want to address if that we're looking at both the team agreement, that would be 11 on page 14. Efforts to, I know we made to adjourn meetings at 9 p.m. I do want to enforce that more than just make an effort. It's just that for example, there has been some that have gone really late, and to the point that it's really hard to make a decision or vote on something when you've been in meetings for 4 hours online or in person. And of course, this, where people have probably been personally in meetings all day prior to attending the city meeting. So I would encourage us just to make better decisions, to have a clearer head. Me personally, I do speak for myself, is to make sure that we adjourn by 9. That's just my input.
I think we'd all definitely like to be done by 9, and seems like my goal every time. But I don't want to short people and not go over stuff because of a timeline and miss things.
Yes.
So I need to do a better job of time management. And I think when we're trying to schedule stuff, we're trying to schedule stuff that is in that time frame based on history and how long they expect it to take. And as I get more experience, I hope I can move through a little quicker and get some of the stuff we don't need to go over out to speed up those meetings, so the meeting will be full of just the important stuff. So we get all those story. I don't want to vote on something if we haven't asked all the questions and got all the answers we need. I don't want to vote and miss something. So I understand that, and I'm definitely going to try to make that an effort on my part to cut out the stuff that we don't need to go over.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor Backus. I do think it's important for us to get all the information, but sometimes to retain that information in one meeting, it's being asked a lot, and to make a clear decision or vote on it. So if we need to take that item and move him to another meeting or just add another meeting, that would be my preference, to have a clear mind and to make better decisions.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
on page 7, the title says working together as a team, and our consultant took a picture. There's a visual of some of the work that we did that day. On the Venn diagram in red, it talks about policy, which is city council, and then in blue is administration, which would be staff. The first bullet point for us is sets the what, and then the administrative's first bullet point is determines the how. And I think that it's under the expectations. The first bullet point for staff is that they are accountable for getting things done in order to be a high performing organization. I think that it's pertinent that we remember that they're the experts in their fields, and that we trust the process they take to meet the goals that we set before them. When I first came on as a teacher, I was like, okay, so what, if we're looking at the goal, what goal number are you talking about, Lori? Is this 3-point, blah, blah, I want to know what you're talking about. And she was very kind and patient with me. And I think that just being here over time, it settles in a little bit. I'll have to admit, when I first came on, we had about 57 goals, and I'm not even lying, and they weren't organized in a beautiful way that they are now into 5 meaningful categories. They were literally just 57 bullet points, and it didn't seem, and they stayed on for a long, long time. And I appreciate Alex's leadership. in taking us in a different direction that is a little more concise, and that we use a consultant that helps us sort of compartmentalize our goals. And it's a lot easier to keep track of, it's in the back of our binder. What if we adopt these or however they're amended, Susan's great at putting them in the back of the binder. We can continue to refer to them. Staff continues to refer to them. What they bring to us in staff meeting, this is a staff meeting, in a city council meeting, or what they're putting on, their staff reports, they all directly relate to a goal. That is a lot of work because I had asked for it. Like, oh, when you're doing your staff report, can you say that this goes with goal 1.2? Okay, well, it also goes with 1.2 and 3.4 and, but they sort of blend together sometimes. And we're a little bit more organized now to where maybe it wouldn't blend into so many different departments. But I just want us to go back to what is on that page that we created together, that we set the what, and it's staff's responsibility to determine the how. And that can take some time to trust that process. I empathize with that.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, Councilor Holmes has been waiting for a moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for bringing us back to that exercise, Council President Grayson. And I totally agree with what's outlined there, that staff is accountable for like delivering on all of the goals that we set. And so I guess my intent is not to create any additional work for staff. I would imagine that, under any project management scenario, there are already milestones that have been identified on how these goals will be reached. And so if that could be shared with council, I guess that's what I'm asking is, can we see what those milestones are to direct staff? So we can see how these things will be accomplished, and then just get a sense of where we're at with them. And I guess if maybe I knew what the milestones were, I could connect the dots between the staff reports to see where we're at. But it just seems, right now, just kind of undefined. Council doesn't really have a lot of insight into how we are going to, how staff is going to operationalize these goals, and then how they will be measured. And I go back to kind of why we went through that exercise of going kind of culling the goals that we had to make sure that they were measurable. Well, if we want to make sure they're measurable, I would think that council would want some ability to then measure them. I guess that's my point.
Thank you. Councilor Friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great conversation to have. I think there's a balance between, we don't need weekly updates tied to the goals. You guys don't have enough time for that anyway. But I do understand what Kim is saying, and I'm wondering if just having an end of year evaluation of whether we're meeting the goals is enough. Like, what if we had a midpoint, a 6-month, hour session where we looked at the goals and the achievements, and going back to what Kim was saying, measure things, just something in the middle instead of just at the end of the year, well, we met these ones, we didn't meet these ones, these are our new ones. Just a thought.
Thank you. Yeah, I was kind of thinking 6 months in, is it 30 minutes of a work session just to give us an idea of where we are on some things. I would think throughout the year we kind of know because some of the things are coming up. But maybe there'll be some that we haven't heard anything in the last 6 months, and we're just kind of wondering, how are we doing on that goal? Also, Grayson.
I mean, I think that it's, I'm just trying to understand the context. I think some people might have more questions than others on progress of goals. So I don't think it's not beneficial to just, meet with Alex or send an email. And I don't know. I'm only because I've been around for it, but I'm trying to understand both sides here. So, I might not need to have any questions about increase of code enforcement operations. But somebody else might.
I guess maybe if one individually does, they can ask, they can raise it, because like update TSP and transportation SDCs. If I wanted to know how we're doing on that, I just ask, correct?
We have to approve,
I mean, that will come up throughout the year.
we have to approve. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
So that would need to be approved by council, then that would go to the LCD and the LCDC board, depending on the level, but at the very least, DLCD staff. So that's reviewed by you and then reviewed by the state. And then if they have notes, then you get to review it again. So there'll be, for something like that, there's plenty of opportunity for council updates once those kind of technical strategies have been established.
Just add something real quick. I just also, if you think about like public optics, like if we develop these goals and they're driving what we're doing in the city, right? We want the public to know that we're actually accomplishing them, right? So I think there's value in addressing it, even if it's 30 minutes or an hour at the 6-month mark, just so that the public can see on public record that we're actually getting somewhere with these goals.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Go for it.
So I recall last year we did actually touch base on these to get a progress report on them. And so do you remember it that way too? Unless I'm losing my mind, I do remember that we did have an update on goals. I don't remember exactly when it was. But you know, just being realistic here, because some of these are heavy lift goals too that are going to take some time. So I mean, if we want a more frequent update, you know, maybe we can ask Alex for that, and maybe she can come back after some time and tell us what that might look like. But I just don't want to prescribe to her basically how she's going to be able to do that, because we don't really know the resources that it's going to take to be able to do that. But I also can completely understand and feel the same way that we do need to have consistent updates on these things, because we are accountable to our constituents and we do need to be able to have those conversations with the public.
Councilor Holmes, more?
Yeah, and I guess I would just, wrap up by saying I am also not trying to make any additional work for anyone, but I presume that if we have a goal laid out that says increase code enforcement operations, that the city manager is working with the chief of police to say what that means and what those actions are. And I guess that's what I'm asking for insight into. I'm not trying to prescribe it. I'm not trying to say how that has to happen, but what does that mean? Does that mean we're going to be doing more, traffic enforcement? Does that mean we're doing, what areas are we touching upon and how are we measuring success? I guess that's all I'm asking for, which I would imagine is what the city manager is already doing with staff. So can we just get insight into that? That's all. Thank you.
Councilor McHugh?
Alex, how much extra work would it be to have a update like in September on the goals? Would that, none of us want to overwhelm the staff with extra duties and responsibilities, but is that a feasible thing to get updates on the goals like in September?
So as I mentioned before, I think we do give frequent updates on goals in staff reports as they come up. The larger goal updates that we do for you on an annual basis, those do take quite a bit of time. Just being honest.
They were very well done. I appreciate that.
So it's not that we can't keep doing that. Again, it's just, reports like that are going to take a lot of time and effort. We're always open to speak with counselors whenever anyone has questions. We try to make sure that we're getting information to you all in a very timely manner when asked for, and making sure that, again, when we have presentations to you all on items that are, in direct correlation to a goal or part of a goal, that is being, included in the staff report so you can see that and track that. We could look at more touch points. It's just, you're just talking about time and effort preparing any reports and things like that. So, and then also, as Councilor Santiago actually just rightly pointed out, it's also meeting time. Your meetings are very full, your work sessions are always full. So, when we did, I know that we were able to do the annual review of goals actually this year in one meeting, which was great. But in years past, that was not the case. It took 2 or 3 meetings, work sessions sometimes. So it just all depends on what we have, going on. So it's hard to say, for sure. But yes, I mean, of course, I can't sit here and say it would take no additional effort on staff's part.
If we did a meeting where we weren't necessarily getting a written report, we were getting a verbal report on how we're doing.
Sure.
It's the written reports that, take a lot of time, and just people come prepared with what they've done at that point in progress to council and ideas where we are.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I see this as an Isaac fun social media campaign of like, where are we now, right? Like, I think it's good that we promote that we pass these goals. This is the vision for the next year, and this is what we've set out to do. And I think that the public, number one, knowing what our goals are and what we've decided to take on this year is really valuable. And they can see like, oh, they have a vested interest in X, Y, and Z, or, oh, I mentioned that being like a concern. I see that they're going to take that on. Doing like little spotlights on certain goals that we're meeting and the progress we're having on them. It doesn't have to be something super elaborate, like a massive report, but I think what some of the counselors are saying is it's more the outward, not necessarily always for us, but for the larger scope of the community.
And maybe we'll see that as we go. I mean, we
Yeah.
do put in here that as part of the exercise, we shared accomplishments and successes from the past year. And we put in our goals. Recognition of achievements is important for 2 reasons. It communicates the status of the project's advancing council goals, which is needed to determine how to refine the goals to meet the current needs and priorities in the community. So like the community is going to want to know how are we working on these goals, and we just want to be able to answer them. And as I kind of go over this, I feel that we will get most of that throughout the year. I mean, each one of these is going to be a topic that will be coming up, and I'm hoping we can see that. It also says we like to celebrate achievements. It brings the team together, sets a tone of gratitude, and positions the team for future success in pursuit of their shared goals. So I think as long as we know how you guys are planning on achieving these and steps you're taking towards them, it will help me throughout the year. But I think I can get most of mine asking you personally. Counselor Miller?
So I don't know if I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, and I definitely don't want to put us past 9, but I mean, it looks like there's staff leads that are basically assigned to most all of these. This probably isn't a this year thing, but I would maybe just suggest this to Alex, that maybe next year or something that, the department heads, whoever's assigned, does regular intervals, updates on, where they're at with it. Because it doesn't sound like it's a all like city manager thing or all Isaac thing. It sounds like it's pretty well, what it looks like is it's pretty well split up where the different department heads might be able to give updates.
So no, it is split up. Obviously, certain projects just make sense based on the person's, area of expertise, things like that. So no, I mean, it's definitely a group effort, and we certainly talk about them a lot internally as we're working through them. Very rarely is a goal only assigned to a single person. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's all pretty much a team effort in terms of bringing these things to fruition, especially with such a small team.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the 2022-2023 council goals as amended.
That is with stricken 2.3.
Yes.
A motion to accept the council goals as amended by Council President Greisen. Any seconds?
Second for discussion.
Second by Miller for discussion. Any discussion? Questions? I will add a comment. Councilor Santiago said possibly a work session at some time to discuss goals might be work out great. Okay, not hearing no more discussion. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your work on that. All you council, that was a fun day. think we're team building, helped quite a bit. Right, Chief Lugal, we need some art lessons. Found that out. Mm, Okay.
Next year.
Yes,
School auction coming up. Would you mind commissioning a
Yeah.
piece to?
Buy you a nice frame. We'll make it
Okay.
a distraction.
so this is my first, now we're moving back into work session. But I don't end the, back into work session, discuss Scappoose tree canopy study.
Yeah,
Jack-
scared there, NJ.
Jack Hefferman, MPP student, 509 project. All yours.
It's good evening. My name is Jack Heffernan. I'm here to present a proposal to conduct a tree canopy assessment and use the assessment to develop code considerations regarding trees. So tonight's presentation will include background on the project origin and benefits for Scappoose, followed by specifics about how I plan to conduct a project, a timeline to review those specifics, and time for questions and discussion. The Master of Public Policy program at Portland State University includes a summative public policy project. The project is intended to serve as an integrative experience, which students link course and cohort learning to professional goals through completion of a client-based project. I first learned of the city's desire for a tree canopy assessment through a connection between City Manager Rains and my faculty advisor. The project represents an opportunity to pursue my specialization in the program, which is environmental policy in local government. My background and preparedness for this project stem from the master's program. My professional experience includes policy analysis for a nonprofit public affairs organization, as well as coverage of local governments as a reporter for news in the West. In addition to policy analysis skills, skills that I have that are pertinent to this project include knowledge of local government functions and how to use GIS maps. To this point, I have been in touch with City Manager Rains, as well as Community Development Director Lori Oliver Joseph and Associate Planner NJ Johnson. Several times via video conference and email. Learned about the specific aims of a tree canopy assessment by viewing a workshop of the Watershed Council from last June. Then conducted initial research on the potential tools and procedures for the project. As you know, the city of Scappoose is developing its 50-year plan, which will include recommended alterations to the Scappoose Development Code. The requests for proposals to develop the plan states, quote, the city requests that an urban tree canopy study be completed. Recommendations on needed updates to chapter 17.104, street trees, 17.140, public land tree removal, and or recommendations on potential new code sections addressing the tree canopy. Many of the reasons that the 50-year plan scope of work includes this, many of the reasons they include this were described by the Scappoose Bay Watershed Council at its 2022 meeting. The council discussed the benefits of robust tree canopy coverage. They include protecting biodiversity, reducing obesity and other health issues, managing stormwater, street cooling, particle filtering, stress reduction, and increased neighborhood property. At the same meeting, arborist Todd Prager, who has conducted tree assessments in cities throughout the Pacific Northwest, outlined 3 steps for conducting urban forestry. Prager recommended that a community take stock of existing conditions, which can be accompanied through efforts like canopy studies. He then recommended developing changes, such as recommended development code alterations, and finally, specific steps to achieve those goals, tools such as regulatory requirements through and grants. This project, as it relates to tree canopy coverage, would respond to the first step and begin the second. So the tree canopy assessment would begin later this month. This will feature iTree technology, which was recommended by Prager. The iTree tool offered by the United States Department of Agriculture Forest Service allows users to define reference areas or use preset boundaries before defining various coverage types such as grass areas, parking lots, water, and tree camp. The free application allows users to define a reference area using preset boundaries such as the Scappoose Bay watershed and select various cover types the user is interested in. Grass area, impervious buildings, parking lots, tree canopy, and water. In addition to the types of areas, iTree can provide data points about economic benefits of types of carbon sequestration, as well as air pollution benefits and hydrological benefits, such as avoided runoff, evaporation, specific to Scappooses natural. And the tree canopy assessment will map defined areas of low, moderate, and heavy tree canopy coverage. Using the County GIS maps, the assessment will detail which zones have tree canopy coverage that are low, moderate, or high. Based on a suggestion by Watershed Council President Nicole Ferreira, the assessment will include a breakdown of percentage of pavement coverage, which will inform the city's efforts to regulate temperatures. The breakdown could be divided out by pavements such as sidewalks, roads, and parking lots. And another breakdown suggested by Ferreira is the percentage of stream coverage. So employing data from the tree canopy assessment, I will then review two relevant sections of the city development code. Based on the review of the code and assessment data, I will develop, if necessary, recommended removals, additions, and alterations. And recommendations will be completed following consultation with Ray Oliver Joseph and Jay Johnson. Once the development code review is complete, I would propose a final work session with the council and interested stakeholders. At this meeting, I would offer an oral presentation of the project's findings. I will also provide a written report. It will include an executive summary addressed to the Scappoose City Council, a chronological process used to develop the tree canopy assessment, code change recommendation, emphasizing anything that might have veered from the originally proposed scope. Findings will be presented in two parts, one being findings of the tree canopy assessment, and the other about code change recommendation. This analysis will include comparative data from other local cities who have conducted their own tree canopy assessments. And finally, the report will detail how the study findings fit into the city's long-term. So to review what we've already discussed, here is a project timeline. As you can see, the bulk of the project will begin later this month with tree canopy assessment. Based on the tree canopy assessment, I will then review the relevant sections of the development code and develop recommendations. By early June, I will complete a written report and final oral presentation to the City Council. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you all very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate you. President Greisen.
Excellent job, Jack. I look forward to this. This has been kind of on the list for a long, long time. We had a previous city councilor that was very interested in this. And so thank you for taking this task on. And I'm just looking forward to seeing the information and your recommendations.
Councilor Miller.
I'm supportive of this. I just want to comment on your presentation that it was precise and thorough in a way that was easy to follow. So kudos to you on that.
Kudos to the community development.
Councilor Holmes.
Yeah, I just want to say the first time I even became aware of this type of study was listening in on the Scappoose Bay watershed meeting. And I think I very quickly messaged Isaac and said, is this something that we can do for the city? And he said, it's in the works. And, you know, I learned that this really is very important for our long-term future and planning and the health of the environment and the population. So yeah, I think this is great and really appreciative of your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. Look forward to working with you in that.
Good luck.
Thank you. Okay. Now we are quickly going to go over the calendar. Senior style. Go. Okay, we are this Thursday, March 9th, Planning Commission meeting, 7 p.m. Monday, March 13th, Land Use Training with Council and Planning Commission here at March 13th, 6 p.m. Thursday, March 16th, Economic Development Committee meeting at noon and Parks and Rec Committee meeting at 6 p.m. Our next council work session, 6 p.m. Monday, March 20th, followed by City Council meeting at 7 p.m. Another Planning Commission meeting on March 23rd at 7 p.m. Followed by March 28th, Tuesday, 50-year SAC meeting at 6 p.m. Busy month. Any updates, City Manager Rains?
Nothing for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Police Chief Lugal?
Good evening. So we had 34 cases year to date. We have, unfortunately, we lost one candidate today due to personal reasons, family. So we have one in backgrounds. Sergeant position has been posted. We have applicants and we're going to be scheduling interviews for this month, as well as we have a couple of new officers, persons looking to be officers. So we're going to conduct more interviews there. Now we have an intern who's going to be working on several projects for us. We just recently got his proposals, so we're going to pick one that best fits our needs. Two of our officers are recruits that are in the academy. One's going to be graduating in April 14th, so we're right around the block. And then we have another one graduating May 12th. So we're looking good there. Unfortunately, we had to cancel Coffee with a Cop because of the weather, and we wanted to make sure everyone had access. We were going to schedule it for later this month, but I was informed that the date I picked starts spring break, so people might be gone. So we're going to look to do it the first week in April. And as far as the goals go, I kind of discussed them throughout, so you guys are always going to kind of be in the loop as far as what we're doing. 15th, CIS is coming to do an assessment. So you'll have that report when it's completed. Code enforcement, as we deal with it, I can report at council meetings so you're aware. In community events, I inform you every community event we do. So you guys are kind of in the loop with my goals. So if that helps.
Thank you. One question, like if you're finishing the academy on April 14th, what's the time frame after that? What's the next process step?
That's going to be FTEP, and that's about 12 weeks. So by summertime, we'll have both of them out there.
Can you describe FTAP for people that don't?
So that's field training. So they're going to go with a veteran officer who's going to, basically they have a book that they have to complete. So veteran officer will actually teach them how to be police officers, but the academies gives you kind of the tools, but then you have to put those tools into practice. So the veteran officer will ride with them, will help them write reports, officer safety, how to handle calls, community engagement, etc.
And you have places lined up for them?
We do.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Holmes, any parting words?
Not tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Santiago?
Yes, so Lieutenant Flunan did notify us about a really great resource for non-emergency issues, because I guess the police department took initiative and heard some issues from the community in past meetings. And so they developed a crime tip email, which I think it's really, really awesome. So it's the crime tips at scappoospolice.com. I'm not sure if Chief wants to talk about that, but I think that's a great thing that we should promote on the site. And just remind everybody that there's a town annual meeting on April 8th at 9 a.m. Encourage all the community to attend. Also, there's remind everyone that Earth Day is April 22nd. It's 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it's at Heritage Park. That's it.
Thank you. Do you want to?
I'll let Isaac talk about.
So the lieutenant came to me a couple weeks ago and we were talking about how to get more feedback from the community. And so we just decided it was important to set up basically a tip line, someplace people could send out questions, concerns, to the police department, kind of aggregate that. So we set up the crime tips at scappoospolice.com. So that'll go to a shared mailbox where a lieutenant and the police department can read those and potentially respond. That is out there on social media. It will continue to out like we do with everything.
Thank you. Councilor Friends?
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. I wanted to go back to our discussion on the goals. I hope the city staff doesn't think that we don't believe that they're working hard on these goals, because I think you guys do a really good job, and I have a lot of confidence personally. So I hope you don't feel like we're trying to micromanage you or second guessing your work. It's really kind of tied into, at least for me, and I think some of the other counselors, like what we're on track to have to do as far as making some pretty tough decisions on some potentially unpopular issues around city fee increases, water bill increases. I think, at least for me, it's tied into, we needed some really strong intentional community outreach with what the city is doing, especially when it comes to fees. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from with the goals. Like, I think if we can highlight the great work you guys do, it's going to be easier to get buy-in for the fee increases and the development increases and the water bill increases and all that. So I appreciate everything you guys do. Just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
Councilor McHugh?
Two things. One, I thought our newsletter looked particularly good this month, and appreciate the good work that went into that. Also, our mayor here is the coach of a undefeated girls JV varsity team, and you know, future looks good for Scappoose basketball. And our girls basketball team, and he can fill you in on this. He's also the assistant coach for the varsity. Just put up a really good fight. They lost in the first round to a much higher ranked team, and they were within 2 points in the fourth quarter, but they finally lost it. But good game. Girls fought hard.
Season. Thank you. Councilor Miller?
Just a couple things to go over really quick. So February 23rd, I attended the 901 board meeting via Zoom. There's over 5 community members there that expressed concern about the whole sole source proposal that they're offering to Motorola and joining Washington County. That did not change the board's mind though, so they're still headed towards that. On March 1st, I attended the county commissioner meeting. There wasn't anything at that specific meeting that overlaps really with the city, so I don't have anything further to report on that. And then just remember that the city county dinner is March 28th. So if you guys didn't already RSVP for that, I think that's going to be a neat event. My understanding is that they held off on doing that in the years past, and this year they're bringing it back. So everything I've heard is that it's a really good networking event to interface with our other elected officials. So I'm really looking forward to that. And Andrew, thank you for saying what you said about our appreciation for staff and the implementation of goals. I think you said it perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Greisen?
Sure. Tomorrow night is the second bond advisory committee meeting with the school district. Lots of people have approached me with questions or comments that I've made, here after that meeting. So I know everybody's anxious to get some more defined information, but still an ongoing process. Unfortunately, the land use training with City Council and the Planning Commission next Monday is something that I cannot attend because I will be at the high school watching second graders in their music concert performance. Oh, yes.
I won't say anything.
My daughter comes first, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Friends, for your comments on staff. In my first 2 months, I've been very appreciative at all the work they put in, and it's great to kind of see behind the curtain how it is done, and I'm very appreciative. So thank you. Councilor McHugh, thank you for acknowledging our basketball season. The girls' first time back to playoffs in 7 or 8 years, had a great season. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun, but it will free up 2 more hours every night now for me to read all this good information. Looking forward to that as well. So that's all I have really for tonight. We are going to go into an executive session. So beforehand, I would honor a motion to extend our meeting past 9 if we have to.
We need to cite the ORS that we're going into.
I'm going to read.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
but I think first we want to preemptively, so you guys don't have to come out of executive session and then go back in potentially. So
To be safe, I'm looking for a motion to extend the meeting past 9 if needed.
Mr. Mayor, I move that council go past 9 PM if needed.
Thank you, Counselor Miller. Any seconds? Second by Counselor McHugh. Any question? Those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Okay, thank you. We are now going to go into executive session 192.660 to F exempt public records. The city of Scappoose will now meet in executive session for the purpose of ORS 192.660. Executive session is held pursuant to 192.660-2-F exempt public records, which allows the city council to meet in executive session. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representative of the news media are specifically directed not to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome back the audience into the room.